Happy holidays from Italics, television for the Italian-American experience. I'm your host, Anthony Tamburri. 'Tis the season. Vickie and Nickie bring us holiday cheer with their holiday sleigh ride show. Their real-life counterparts, Lisa and Lori Brigantino, talk about portraying a multi-instrumental singing sister duo from Minnesota and the other aspects of their creative lives. Professor Margherita is back. This month, she will teach us Italian words appropriate for the holidays. For those with food allergies, the holidays can be tough, as everyone partakes in seasonal delights that can often contain forbidden ingredients. With new awareness and health consciousness, pretty much everyone can now have a good time. Chef Camillo Sabella shows us how at Casa Belvedere in Staten Island, sharing a twist on his mom's recipe for wholesome and delectable Pignoli cookies.
It's Christmas time and I'm going home.
I'm Vickie.
I'm Nickie.
We're gonna sing for you. I'm Vickie.
I'm Nickie.
And play a song or two. Your favorite sister act straight from the hills of northern Minnesota. I'm Vickie.
I'm Nickie.
I'm the younger one. I'm Vickie.
I'm Nickie.
With us today are those zany sisters, Vickie and Nickie, or rather, they're creators and performers, real-life sisters, Lisa, a singer-songwriter and score composer, and Lori, an actor and musician whose credits range from off-Broadway to cabaret to film. Both sing and play multiple instruments, and they are the masterminds behind the duo from Minnesota. Welcome to Italics.
Thank you for having
Thanks
us.
for having us.
So, is it today Lori and Lisa, or is it Vickie and Nickie?
Lisa and Lori.
Lisa and Lori. Nickie?
Or sometimes Nickie.
You might get a little Vickie and
You
Nickie
might.
today.
Okay.
Yeah.
They rear their heads.
Yeah.
From time to time.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Unexpectedly. So let's talk about the show. You're billed as the multi-instrumental singing housewife sister duo. Take time out of their busy prison circuit tour to celebrate the season Minnesota style with hilarious interpretations of your favorite holiday songs, wacky original tunes, fun family stories, and audience participation. What are two Italian New York women doing a show like this? Where did this idea come from?
Opening for friends of ours that were doing Three's Company live in Brooklyn in a little back room in Brooklyn, and they wanted music to start. And we knew a lot of songs from the 70s. Lisa, obviously, singer-songwriter. We've played a lot together over the years, so we had this repertoire, and we said, we'll do it for you. But I said, I want to do it as characters. I had started seeing a lot of friends doing their original shows and wanted to have my own show. And so basically, really long story short, went home, wrote up some dialogue, sent Lisa, it said, we're going to play Minnesota Housewives. You're going to wear a blonde wig.
A wig and a gown, and I said, great, sign me up.
And we're going to wear dresses from the 70s, kind of, you know,
Yeah.
And that was supposed to take place in the 70s, so we would open for the Three's Company.
Yeah.
And then we realized, we did it a few times and realized we have our own show.
Yeah.
So the first full show we did there at Freddie's Back Room in Brooklyn was our first Christmas show as Vickie and Nickie.
Yeah,
So how long has it been now?
that was, I think, 2004. So it's been
10
10
years.
Yeah,
years.
it's 10 years, yeah.
And
Yeah.
we've written many shows, fully scripted shows. Of course, there's room for improv and audience participation, but these are written shows. These are scripted shows. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Right, and there is audience participation.
we do engage them. Everything's directly to the audience. We're there as Vickie and Nickie, you know, performing for them, and it's right there with them. And we do medleys that are guessing game medleys and stuff like that.
And it looks like a lot of fun, which I'm assuming it is, but it's a lot of work.
It's a great deal
Yeah.
of work. I mean, it really is fun, and we're so lucky that we work well together, and, you know, we've really kind of been doing this since we're yay high. But between writing, between coming up with interesting versions of cover songs, so that we'll do Lady Gaga's Paparazzi, but we'll do it as a bluegrass tune. You know, so we take music that is well known and we transform it. We write our original music, we script the shows, and then of course we're playing 8 to 10 instruments and constantly
Exactly.
shuffling, yes, and also taking them to and from the gigs. So, you know.
Yeah, because when you look at the set,
Yeah.
you've got from the accordion
Right.
to 3 or 4 different types of strings, guitar, regular guitar, there's I think a classic guitar, there's a ukulele, there's a banjo,
electric, yeah.
right, and then there's the keyboard.
Yeah.
And then clarinet and saxophone.
Yeah, exactly,
She,
saxophone,
yeah,
yeah.
You know, she made me drag out the clarinet, which I hadn't played in years, and a lot of things
I
that
made her. Yeah.
we kind of
Yeah.
had. And I
Yeah.
made you do that with the violin too.
That's
We
true.
both had a relationship to me for clarinet and her in violin from our studying days.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
wasn't so great, but we dragged them into the
Yeah.
act, and I have
Yeah.
this new love now for the clarinet.
Let's go back a little bit. You guys started playing like at 5 and 6 years old, right?
Yeah, I
instruments.
think even probably younger, about 4, we started ukulele. Our grandmother taught us to play, and our mother plays as well. And we come from a very, very musical family. Our cousin Felix Papalardi produced Cream and was the bassist and producer of Mountain. Our cousins Dan and Michael Barburo, producers and engineers. Always singing 3 and 4 part harmony at family functions. But then, yes, we played throughout school. We went to SUNY Fredonia. I studied composition and theory, and Lori studied as well.
Getting back to the show, you hit on a lot of significant issues in the show. And you do it all within comedy, and you do it, so doing it in comedy, people bristle less. But you hit some pretty hard themes,
Yeah.
you know, social issues.
Yeah, that's the wonderful thing about these characters too, is there's a naivete about them, and they can kind of bring topics up and bring it up in a way that is not offensive, but at the same time we make our point.
Oh my gosh, well, we all need a drink with everything that's going on in the world these days. Isn't that right, folks? Oh, and you got to worry about all kinds of things like what color lights to put on the tree.
Is Harney going to get laid off?
What dress am I going to wear to the midnight mass?
Are the polar ice caps melting?
Ham or turkey on Christmas Day.
Is the Ebola heading to Minnesota?
Oh, and we're still feeling the pinch up there north. I'm really feeling that pinch.
Yeah. Well, you know,
Yeah.
so is Santa Claus this holiday season.
Oh, well, someone in my house is going to be mighty disappointed on Christmas Day when they don't find Grand Theft Auto under the tree.
Yeah. The only Grand Theft Auto they're going to be getting this year is Donnie stealing Ronnie's pickup truck and doing donuts in the front yard after too much holiday eggnog.
Oh, yeah, well, believe me, I know what it's like to be disappointed on Christmas Day.
There's always been in this back of our minds the Italian show, you know, the autobiographical, and there's a ton of material that we have. I know I have some myself and separate from Lisa, and we've talked about that, and so people say, well, why not do it like an Italian? There's something about these characters that there's this naivete that it allows us to do things that I don't think we could get away with as 2 Italian girls from New York. Quite the same way. The key, we found that the key to them, if we keep staying true to this idea that they have this naivete about the world and they really kind of all-inclusive, even though they might go off the track a little bit, that we can almost tackle anything if it's channeled through that. And we are, I have to say, we are conscious about, I mean, I obsess about this more than she does. I'm like, are we going to offend anybody with this? And, you know, and we've learned that there's certain things that if you write it a certain way and you channel it through the character, and you sometimes throw it away. You just kind of, you don't
dwell on it.
You don't dwell on it. You don't stick on it too long, the joke, that it will work.
It works, yeah.
So hopefully.
Well, you do that with the Christmas story.
Yeah.
Because you're telling one of you is telling the Christmas story, and then the other one starts going into the, well, before Christmas, and you go into the pagan, we might say, roots of the Christmas story.
Right,
Yeah.
because we talk about the different ways that people celebrate the holidays, and there's Hanukkah and Kwanzaa, and there's the winter solstice, and how that all started, and you know, and there's a way to say that and to do it with a smile.
Lights, please. Emperor Aurelian established December 25th as the birthday of the invincible sun to help celebrate the Roman winter solstice celebration. Shortly thereafter, in 273 AD, the church chose December 25th to represent the birth of the baby Jesus. Apparently, they wanted everyone to forget it was initially a pagan holiday because they wanted control over everyone. what the winter solstice is all about, Vickie.
Within doing that, the characters have their roles. You know, it's very clear that Nickie is the more bookish one, the smarter one. There always has to be a character in a duo, especially, and we've learned this with comedy, is that there always has to be a character that's kind of a little dimmer, so that you can have the contrast between the two, and you can tackle things like this. Because if Vickie wasn't so dim, Nickie wouldn't have the opportunity to go into this whole thing, and Vickie wouldn't have the opportunity to say winter soloist when she sang the winter solstice, and you know, it's like, so I think it provides that opportunity to go there, to that place.
So we're here to wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, a Happy Kwanzaa.
We don't want anyone to feel left out.
No, we want you to feel right at home here, no matter what your religious persuasion is.
Or isn't?
Yeah, you betcha.
There's the Vickie and Nickie show in general, and then there's the Vickie and Nickie Sleigh Ride show, which is for the holidays.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've done a bunch of different holiday shows. I mean, one of our first shows was 'Tis the Season with Vickie and Nickie. Then there was a Vickie and Nickie Holiday Sleigh Ride, Vickie and Nickie's Jingle Bell Jamboree. They are all similar, and we do pull from previous shows in terms of material, but we always add something. There's always some topical element. We change out some songs. So
Yeah, we try to keep it fresh, but we also realize that there's some things with the Christmas show. You know, Christmas is tradition for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Even if they don't celebrate it in a traditional way, you'd be surprised if people want to come and they want to hear some of those same songs.
Yeah.
So we were trying to be very careful about keeping certain elements that we knew people love, and throwing out ones that are old, bringing in new stuff, and hoping that it will work. And we got some great feedback about that. So I think we did okay this time around.
To show you do a homage, sort of Patty Benatar, where you're just jamming.
Love, take it, don't you mess around, no, no, no.
Not only is Vickie the kind of dimmer one, but she's also a little unstable.
I wanted that Barbie country camper. I was good for goodness sake, and he still didn't come through.
She always has a meltdown. I think it may have been Lisa's idea to do Heartbreaker.
I think it was.
That, you know, what if Vickie sang it gives us an opportunity to do a rock song, and Heartbreaker. Santa Claus is the heartbreaker, and you know, and it works.
Yeah.
It's a little dark. It gives us a chance to rock out. So we try to. That's another thing, is we try to touch on a lot of different genres of music. Like, how many more can we, you know, get in there? Because that's what's fun about it. Doing these different styles of music.
Yeah.
I mean, it's opportunities that we wouldn't have as just Lisa and Lori performing music. Vickie and Nickie give us this opportunity
we'll
to
jump
do
from
songs
bluegrass
that
to
we would never be able to do.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you about your music. It's a little bit of rock and roll, a little bit of country.
It's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And it's really a culmination of a history of playing many different styles of music, studying classically, being trained in composition. So my original songs have a lot of different elements in it, and you know, also depending on what I'm hired to write for, I will change it up and make it appropriate for the project. But yeah, and that's another thing. That's an element of what I enjoy about writing, is pulling from all these different types of genres, and as a multi-instrumentalist, playing different types of music, it just informs, you know, the way I write.
Yeah. And are you instead moved more towards acting, right? I mean, you both started out as little girls playing instruments, right?
Yeah.
And then you moved instead more towards acting.
Yeah, in college I just started I was like, oh, that's what I want to lean more towards, even though I still continue to do music to the point where, like I said, I almost had enough credits to graduate as a major. And
you still play together?
And played throughout college and afterwards. But I leaned a little. I started getting into the theater, and I thought, oh, this is it, you know. And so when I first came to New York, I did a lot of acting, and I still do here and there. And after some time away from it, on my own, I'm actually getting back into it. So we each have our separate things that we do creatively, and then we come together and do this, and which is, you know, is really
Great.
good.
It keeps the duo fresh.
Yeah, it's
I'm
healthy,
assuming, right?
you know.
Yes, and then we can also, we have our own things that we focus on and we specialize in, but it's really a joy to be able to work together and to come together and do this.
It's been wonderful having you here.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's Christmas time and I'm going home.
Whether you've mastered Italics words of the month from our last episode or are still practicing, Professor Margherita is here to help us get into the festivities with new words for 2015. Ciao, professoressa.
Ciao, Anthony, and ciao, everybody. Ciao a tutti. Okay, it's Christmas, Natale. Christmas, Natale. Natale. When you meet someone during this time, what do you say? Let's go back to what we did last time. Remember buono? Yes? Okay, then you say buon Natale. Buon Natale. Buon Natale. But also, when you enter 2015, what you say? Buon anno. Yes, year, anno. So it's buon anno. And then, if you want to add new, happy new year, you say nuovo. Buon anno nuovo. Buon anno nuovo. Buon anno nuovo a tutti. E buon anno nuovo a te, Anthony.
Grazie. And speaking of buon, let's go to Lucia Grillo with Chef Camillo Sabella in Staten Island and learn to make Pignoli cookies.
Chef Camillo, thanks for joining Italics at Casa Belvedere in Staten Island. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you, and it's my pleasure to be here.
What are we making today?
We're doing a vegan twist on an Italian pignoli cookie. I'm so excited to do this. This is my mother's recipe.
This recipe, being vegan, is not only good for people who are vegan for ethical purposes, but it actually has benefits for people with allergies, right? So that they can feel part of celebration and not deprived of things that everyone else gets to have.
Yeah, I actually did this recipe because I have a godson that is totally allergic to any kind of egg product. There's certain nut allergies I wouldn't do this recipe for, but there's no eggs, there's no dairy or anything in here, so it's like a perfect recipe.
And there's no gluten either.
There is no gluten. These cookies are gluten-free.
That's great. So what's the first step?
The first step is preheat the oven. The first ingredient is 1 tablespoon of egg replacer and 3 tablespoons of cold water. And then what we do now is I'm actually using my mother's whisk. On this, I'm so excited to use this, making this recipe for you. We need to whisk the egg replacer and the water together until it comes frothy. I like to whisk it until all the egg replacer is dissolved, like this. And next, I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract. A teaspoon of almond extract. A 1/2 teaspoon of salt. 1/8 of a teaspoon of lemon zest. Okay. And you never want to zest to the white part. You always want to zest and move. Okay. So I'm just going to measure out 1/8 of a teaspoon of lemon zest. I'm going to set this aside, and we're going to start doing the dry mixture.
Okay.
We're going to use 1.5 cups of finely ground almond meal, and it has to be blanched.
And where generally can people find these ingredients?
You can find them at any natural market, health food store. And now we add 3/4 cups of a cup of powdered sugar.
Most people are not aware that conventional refined sugars are ground using animal bone.
Correct.
So if someone's vegan, they should be aware that they need to make sure that something is organic.
Organic, and it is a vegan product. Usually it has a label on it, non-GMO. So we use 3/4 of a cup. You want to make sure that the powdered sugar and the almond flour is incorporated. You want to also open it and kind of scrape the sides to make sure it gets well incorporated. Anytime you do a recipe, you should always try to scrape the sides well. Now this mixture is done. It should have a soft feel to it, not grainy. The next ingredient we're going to need is baking soda, and it's going to be 1/8 of a teaspoon. Now we need to put the food processor on and process to make sure the baking soda gets distributed evenly. This is good. Now we're going to add our raw coconut oil, and you want it to be in liquid form. And this is 1 tablespoon of raw coconut oil.
Which also has a lot of nutrients in
it. It is so healthy. There's a lot of antioxidants, anti-inflammatory. I'm going to put the processor on again to actually blend this. So as the coconut oil is getting mixed thoroughly, you want to make sure you scrape the sides, because you see it's kind of like coming like a paste almost. So another minute on this, and I would say about 2 minutes to 3 minutes on just getting it mixed thoroughly, the coconut, and then we're going to add our liquid mixture, and we're going to put it in the food processor, and then we're going to fold in our pine nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Want to scrape the sides, and now we're going to add our liquid mixture into the food processor. You want to whisk it again to make sure it's emulsified and it's nice and fluffy. Now we're going to pour the liquid mixture into the food processor. And now we're going to process it for about 2 minutes until it comes out to a paste. As you see, it's getting creamier and creamier, and it's almost done. And this is how it should look. And I'll show you. It's supposed to be very creamy in texture. So we're going to take this mixture and put it into the same bowl that we used to make the liquid mixture. Make sure your hands are wet now because it's easier to work with the dough. So now we have the ball here of the dough, and we want to just kind of like make it easier for us to work with. And now we're going to take our fresh pine nuts, and we're going to put in 1/4 cup and fold them into the mixture. And I like to do this like this because a few extra pine nuts is not going to hurt. So you just want to fold in the pine nuts. And what I do in the same bowl that I had, I put it into this so it's easily transferred into the freezer. To cover this and put it in the, so we want an hour. The reason that we put it into the freezer is because we want the dough to set and be as easy as we can scooping it out.
So now we've taken the dough out of the freezer, and what do we do now?
we're gonna measure out a cup of pine nuts that we're gonna roll each scoop of cookie dough into. So you're gonna take the scoop, and this is a number 30 scoop. You can use a smaller one if you'd like, but that would change the cooking time. Just take the cookies out a little sooner than usual. When you see the pine nuts getting brown, then you take them out.
All right.
And I'm gonna scoop a cookie into this bowl of pine nuts, and I'm gonna cover it all with this goodness. And now you wanna just put them and kind of press in the pine nuts to the cookie dough. This yields 12, so you want to leave space, and we bake this at 300 degrees in a preheated oven for 20 minutes.
Okay, great.
20 minutes later, your cookies should look like this.
We wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Can we try one now?
Sure, let's taste one.
I'm taking my own. I'm not sharing. Wow.
It's so good.
So a healthy, vegan, wholesome twist on the classic Italian Pignoli cookie.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Chef Camillo, and happy holidays.
Thank you so much, Lucia. It was my pleasure, and happy holidays to you.
Thanks.
We wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings to you, wherever you are. Good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year.
And if you leave some of these for Santa, you should be guaranteed a cold-free stocking. In Italics news, the Calandra Institute is pleased to announce the Calandra Center for Career Development, opening at our Manhattan location on January 12, 2015. The center will provide services to current students and members of the community, 18 and older, interested in enrolling at CUNY. For more information, visit qc.cuny.edu/Calandra and click on Counseling.
It's Christmas time and I'm going home.
Happy holidays from us here at Italics. Thanks for tuning in. We hope to see you next year for our first episode of 2015, airing January 28th. Catch up on previous editions of Italics at cuny.tv/show/Italics, and additional webisodes on our Italics YouTube channel, Italics TV. We'll leave you with more from Vickie and Nickie. I'm Anthony Tamburri. Arrivederci alla prossima puntata.
It's time to celebrate. So we're here to wish you a Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. A Happy Kwanzaa.
We don't want anyone to feel left out.
No, we want you to feel right at home here no matter what your religious persuasion is.
Or isn't.
Yeah, you betcha, but we're Christian, so you're going to be hearing a lot of Christmas songs tonight. But if you're not Christian, we want you to feel free to plug in whatever you need to, whenever you hear a song like, or a word like Christmas,
Or Santa Claus.
or the baby Jesus.
Yeah, just plug in whatever you need to.
Yeah.
You could plug in the Buddha.
Yeah, you can plug in the Kwanzaa horn at plenty.
You could plug in the menorah.
Yes.
I thought you were going to plug in the menorah.
You said you're going to plug it in this year.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
I'll do it. Okay.
Hanukkah, oh Hanukkah, come light the menorah. Let's have a party, we'll all dance the horror. Gather round the table, I'll give you a treat. 3